Shalayim Sameach. I'm standing here in my Jerusalem home. Outside, I can hear the elementary school nearby blasting Jerusalem songs at the top of their players. And I'm taking stock. I'm taking stock of what Yom Yerushalayim means to me, of what we have to celebrate, and where we have to strive on this day. Last night, I gathered with many, many people of my community and other South Jerusalem communities in a big park in our area where we listened to music and we prayed and we fed our kids an inordinate amount of sugar in all kinds of forms and we celebrated together. And I was sitting with a daughter who lost her father to war, and I was sitting with an adult who lost her father to war. And I listened to my friend Rachel Goldberg play her violin and quote her husband, Rav Avi, who fell in Lebanon in Shabbat Bereshit. And I looked from face to face, and the broken things, the losses, were there in everybody's faces. And yet we were together and we were celebrating nonetheless. And Rachel said this beautiful idea that Rav Avi wrote exactly a year ago to all his soldiers. He sent it in on WhatsApp, and then his soldiers gathered that into a booklet after his falling, in which he said that Yerushalayim is created of two words: Yiru'u, they will see in the future tense, and Shalem, which means whole. And he said Jerusalem always combines both of these mental states. The mental states that says there's something that's still out there in the future that we need to strive for and work towards, and things are not complete. And we need to remember that, and we need to keep working and striving. But at the same time, it reminds us that things have a certain shalem aspect, a certain wholeness to them as they are. And we need to hold it in both hands, both of these things, the acknowledging what's powerful and beautiful and striving for what's still out there. Yehuda Amichai once wrote, Lama Yerushalayim Tamid Shtayim? Why is Jerusalem always two? Always the Jerusalem above that invites us to strive and be worthy of it and embody it on earth, and the Jerusalem that's right here and right now and is beautiful and complicated and messy and raw and real and human, and with all that this entails. And when I think of those aspects, I feel that they mean more to me this year, because this year there's so much to strive for. We pray for the hostages, we pray for peace on the land, we pray for a time when our neighbors don't want to destroy us and we can live in peace with them. We pray for so much that's still out there and is so desperately needed. And yet at the same time, I look at all these broken faces around me, all these people who walk in the world carrying loss, and I see that they live and they create and they do. And the little 8-year-old I was playing with yesterday who lost her father is a happy child. And she sings songs about Jerusalem as well. And there's so much to celebrate in that, in the fact that we live our lives and we do our best and we're together. And I wanted to share with you, out of this place of acknowledgement and gratitude, a prayer that was written by my friend Sarah Tuttle Singer for this book, as Nashir, between silence and song, Women's Prayers for Israel's Days of Remembrance and Celebration, which we put together with Cheryl Sheps and Ann Gordon for this season. This is, in fact, the end of the season this book was created for. And Sarah wrote a remarkable prayer that at first seems wrong, because you read it and you'll see there's a factual question that immediately pops into your mind when you read it and you say, but this is not true. But then you think deeper and you see that it is true, and I want to go for that. It's called A Prayer for Jerusalem, Born of the Deep. God of the beating heart of Jerusalem, source of her breath and being, you who formed her hills from the ancient sea, who set her foundations in the bones of the earliest life, who carved her valleys with a memory of water, I call to you now. For before there were stones, there was sea. Before there were walls, there were waves. Before there were battlements, there was only the deep. Now, I don't know about you, but as a Jerusalemite, I can tell you there's no sea in Jerusalem. Yet, after the initial rejection of what Sarah writes, you start thinking about what we read in Genesis and about how the whole world was water, and then God gathered this water. And what does it mean? What does it stand for? For Sarah, it means that in the foundation of Jerusalem, before it became a city of walls and olive trees and map sellers and all the other beautiful ideas she discusses in her prayer, it was a place of water, of tides, of connection, of gathering. As she says, Jerusalem rose from the water you gave and withdrew, and still that sea remains, hidden in her bones, in the limestone that once cradled shells, in the fossils pressed into desert rock, in the hush before the rain where the air tastes of salt, the tides abide. God of the depth of the high and the heights, God of the wellspring and the wilderness, help us remember Jerusalem was first a place of gathering, not of dividing, a place where waters mingled, not where blood was spilled, a place where the great currents of the deep moved together in harmony, as we too must learn to be carried and moved. The prayer goes on, and it's beautiful, and I highly recommend reading it. But I want to step away from it for a second and say that when Sarah talks about the Sea of Jerusalem as a past occurrence, as something that happened and is there at the core of Jerusalem, not just in some mythological sense or biblical sense, but as if it's a fact of our lives that it's there, she makes the aspiration for peace, for gathering, for harmony, for unity feel more tangible and more achievable because it's already happened. So why can't it happen again? And this is the gift of this prayer to me, feeling that this iru'u motion, this striving motion, has a tangible, real horizon to direct itself towards. In that regard, Sarah's prayer reminds me very powerful of a prophecy in Ezekiel 47, where Ezekiel describes that a man of God took him and showed him how there's water trickling from under the altar in the temple, and how this water gathers and becomes this massive, massive river a man can't even pass through, that enlivens everything all around Jerusalem. And there's fruit trees, the fruits of which feed everybody, and the leaves become medicines, and the water goes all the way to the Dead Sea and heals the Dead Sea, and now there's fish in the Dead Sea. And the remarkable thing is that this description is not in future tense. Ezekiel too, not in past tense like Sarah's prayer, but he talks in the present tense, as if the river is already there. And maybe this is the way to hold both of these states of minds that are embodied in the word Yerushalayim together, the acknowledging of the shalem and the striving for something beyond that. Because if we recognize that what we're striving for is already here in potential, it gives us so much strength to have the fortitude, to have the courage to keep on going. We're about to read Chumash Bamidbar. We're starting this week. Numbers. It's the story in Tanakh that talks about a road that grows much, much longer than anyone intended, and how people must find the strength to go on through it all. Our own road is longer than we intended, both in the large meta sense. I thought we're already pretty much in a good place, and now we just have to rearrange the furniture and Israel is done, and here we are fighting for ourselves again. But also in an immediate sense of this war, I don't think anyone imagined that, we'll be almost 600 days into it and no end in sight at this point. And we need strength and we need fortitude. And Jerusalem, with its combination of striving and acknowledgement of wholeness, with its ideas and ideals that are both an invitation to strive, but a promise that in potential we already have the ability to achieve that it's in our DNA, in our bones. Jerusalem gives me hope and strength on this path, and I'm grateful to have a day to acknowledge it and celebrate it as we go on, as we have to find the strength to go on. And on that note, I want to wish you all Yom Yerushalayim Sameach, and may our striving achieve the greatness we want to achieve the great and beautiful things we want to achieve, and may we be worthy of this city where we are invited to encounter God. Yom Yerushalayim Sameach.